He's doing this is very important in history and many things of importance in reference to the Treasury and the Supreme Court. And the fact that I got kidnapped from my mother and father's mansions. And the Supreme Court is supposed to have those dates. And my mother was in court at the Supreme Court. My father had been to the Supreme Court when he was alive. And I was injured. The satellite man's messing with my throat. They've been burning my lips and teeth today. They've been burning my tailbone. Many things of importance. Sexual assault and abuse every day. But, in reference to the Supreme Court and the Treasury, I want them to send me a letter to the address here, 315, and for them to set a document, or send a document, or like an itinerary. Because, the Supreme Court knew my mother. My mother had court cases against politicians and government people before. So we know the Supreme Court has some of those records. But, in reference to, I want them to send me like an itinerary of information of how I can get home to my mother and father's mansions. You know what I mean? Just like, because, the Supreme Court knows, my mother and father had status at the Supreme Court. And I'm supposed to have status at the Supreme Court, It's kind of a long story in reference to when I was born and, my mother and father owning a lot of property and people was trying to steal the property. So, my parents had lots of court cases all the time against people that was thieves, people that was trying to steal the companies, people that was trying to trespass on land, people that was trying to steal monies and revenues from the businesses of my mother and father and grandparents. So, there was all kinds of court cases back in the days. It was kind of like a routine. That's why my parents had regular attorneys that worked on a lot of things. What happened to them? Need some information about some of the attorneys that worked for my parents, I haven't received any letters from those people either. And they know who I am, too. The satellite man had just burnt my front teeth right there when I had mentioned, during this message, I've mentioned the Supreme Court and the Treasury of America. And the satellite man's still burning my teeth. And hello, Treasury departments around the world and friendly countries and Supreme Courts or High Courts in Europe. Many things of importance in other friendly places, But, in reference to the information, if the Treasury or the Supreme Court can send me like an itinerary of how I can get to my mother and father's mansions. I'm being held hostage. The satellite man's playing electric fences and shit like that, So, they, if I'm driving, it's like they got my face in a headlock when they're burning my mouth and teeth and face. Now, that's why I need a girlfriend, whether it's a temporary girlfriend or whatever, or a female friend to hang out with. Because these pervert men that are doing this, they're gay men that are doing these things. So, it's very serious. So, in reference to the Supreme Court or the Treasury, they could have hired somebody to draw a map. Just so I can get home. Because, these people are roadblocking me. They're blocking me from my mother and father's mansions. And these satellite controllers have tried to communicate something like they think that I didn't deserve to be who I am. Well, I was born as who I am. And your opinion is not legal. I'm the only child of my mother and father. I'm the owner of the estates of my parents forever and my grandparents. So, in reference to the Supreme Court or the Treasury, they got secretaries. They could even hire somebody to send, or they could, write it off or whatever, or they might have, the Supreme Court has a lot of people in the press and in reference to media relations and other things. So, in reference to the Supreme Court and the Treasury, I'd like for them to send me a itinerary to the address where I'm at. 315, they know where I'm at. In reference to me getting home to my mother and father's mansions. And put in reference to one of the mansion, in New Jersey or the mansions in Beverly Hills. Just draw me a map. The reason why is for route purposes, like, taking a route. And, the Supreme Court and the Treasury knows that these government people had been stealing my money. And it's a shame that, these people are trying to play this game. They just choked me. Where I've had to try to earn monies just to get home. When they kidnapped me, these people that kidnapped me from my mother and father's mansions. And where's the lawsuit monies? Why should I be having to try to work to save money just to get home to my mother and father's mansions, of which I got kidnapped from? Doesn't make any sense. Do you not think my rights have been violated by these dirty government agents? This is, very serious in reference to ethics, too, the Supreme Court, I haven't received opinion in any of the lawsuits or any monies that anybody has tried to send. Oh, and in reference to people that tried to send me gifts or monies in the postal mail, you need to make a YouTube video. Somebody say, oh, they sent you this, or they tried to send me this or that. Make a quick video, because it's going to be submitted into court against these postal thieves. So, you just kind of want to make records for it. I don't know what anybody may have tried to send or whichever, but they're always stealing the postal mail before it even gets here. I don't know if anybody's walked up to the post box or the mailbox on the house. It's not a post box, but it's a mailbox. I don't know if people have been taking things out of the mailbox or not, or off the porch, or if anybody tried to send a gift or whatever. But, I got Ring cameras on the porch, but I've looked at my Ring camera videos, and there's not any video of anybody stealing anything off the porch or out of the mailbox. So, Supreme Court and Treasury Department, send me a letter. You can even email me. You know my email. It's TonyChaseBusiness@gmail.com. So, in reference to send me an email. Like Royal Ambassador message information. Because, royal information of things. So, in reference to Supreme Court or Treasury, or even my mother and father's companies, maybe they can send me a map, an itinerary, like say, oh, go here, go to this place, pick up this car, drive here, blah, blah, blah. Just a whole itinerary of things. Or whatever, I don't think it's probably not too good of an idea to be flying with these people terrorizing my life. So I'm not really interested in flying too much. So it'll probably be driving. So if the Supreme Court could get somebody to send me a letter in the postal mail or email me, or the Treasury, it'd be appreciated. Ethics are very important in reference to this situation, of course.